You're listening to The World According to Jen and Carolyn, who's about to be sued for copyright infringement. Happy Sunday.
I'm high off of shopping.
High off of shopping. Yes, we did a little vintage shopping today. I live in the Excelsior district in San Francisco, one of the last working class enclaves in the city. And there is a really good restaurant bar called the Halfway Club.
Is it new?
It's been there a few years.
Oh, okay.
Before it was the Broken Record, which was an incredible place. In fact, they had a lot of culinary notoriety for a while because my boy, what's his name? Guy Fieri, visited them, did a diners, drive-ins, and dives thing there. And there used to be a line around the block. And then those folks left.
Lovely.
He is such a good person. Ain't nobody better say a bad thing about Guy Fieri. God damn it. Anyway, he gives a lot to charity, especially up in Lake County where... is near and dear to me and Bill's hearts. Anyway, Halfway Club's great. It's these two dudes that are from the Midwest. So the whole menu is very Midwesty. Lots of cheese curds and shit.
I didn't eat any cheese curds. I'm very sad about that.
Yes, I know. Next time we'll eat some cheese curds. But today they had a little vintage market. And so they had a bunch of people from various places. I bought a cool ass Spooky Tooth record. Check these motherfuckers out.
What is Spooky Tooth?
Spooky Tooth is a band.
I've never heard of them.
They're great. They do a version of I Am the Walrus, Beatles song.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, and it's a really cool version. But yeah, we got some good stuff today. And we found the folks that are likely going to make our logo so we don't have a generic Canva logo.
Shout out to these dudes. I don't know. Yeah. This was just some cool thing. And we're like, it's kind of screams a little cultural appropriation. We need them to make it more Jen and Carolyn, but it's got two sets of tits.
Well, so. I like it. So I'm going to describe because I don't know where the video clips are going to be cut here, but it's a woman with...
Is it a woman? I don't know.
4 arms, 4 titties, 2 legs, and the legs are coming out of what looks almost like a shield.
Like a beetle. Well, I thought it was like a beetle body.
Oh, I could see that.
With little talons.
Yeah, and some wings, and the face looks very Egyptian.
Yeah.
And it's just dope. I feel like we can potentially do something with this.
We're looking for a new logo.
Yeah, we need a new logo that wasn't generated by generic-ass Canva.
No, ours is our photo.
Oh, that's right.
That's just looking like hardcore...
yes.
I don't know what we're
very white. Very white ladies in a pumpkin patch.
Yeah. So Anomaly Printing.
Yes.
And then can I also give another shout out?
Absolutely.
We got some cool jewelry.
We absolutely did. Mariana or whatever her name is.
Coolidge. Yeah. Shout out to Esperado. Sparrito. You got some beautiful clothes from Tender Buttons Vintage.
She was wonderful. She had some incredible stuff. There were some pants there that I really wanted, but I just was not in the market for vintage, $78 pants today.
They were beautiful.
They were gorgeous. I just spent a lot of money on clothes, and clearly I've run out of room. You've seen my fucking closet. But I'm very happy to report that the majority of my clothes now are used. Because for me and Carolyn, it's not just about fashion. It's about the planet.
Yep.
And so it's important for us to buy things used. One, they don't make them like they used to. The quality of stuff now is just shit by comparison. Yeah. So we'd rather have some vintage, well-worn, nicely loved stuff.
Yes. And your record came from Kai Killian.
Yes.
And he's on Instagram at Yes Truly. Yours truly. YERSTROOLY.
Awesome.
I will do a little post about all this.
He's wonderful. And he also
was so sweet.
Everyone was great. Kai works at a record store in North Beach called Cantina Records,
which is a very cool spot.
Yes. And they have a bunch of Star Wars stuff there. So you bring the kids, and apparently they have a lot of good jazz.
Are you a big Star Wars person?
I'm not, but Bill is.
Is he really?
Oh, he's huge.
Any white dude who grew up in the 80s is into Star Wars.
I feel like you're either Lord of the Rings or Star Wars. I'm Lord of the Rings. That's my dorky
see them
proclivity.
Until senior year.
Really?
My friend Paul Lawrence had a Star Wars party in my honor where we watched all 3. This was before even the new ones came out.
Paul would do that.
He did. And it was at his parents' house. It was so fun.
He's a lovely human being. And we're kind of talking about I don't know, intergalactic shit today.
Right?
Maybe. So we're actually re-recording this episode called Conspiracies Gone Wild, Lizard People, QAnon, and the psychology of belief. So, the focus of this really is we're going to dive into some of the wildest conspiracies on the internet, lizard people being one of them, secret cabals, pizza-based espionage. We all remember Pizzagate, right? The sprawling universe of QAnon. But we're not laughing at them. We're asking, we're kind of laughing at them, but we're also asking, why do people fucking believe this? Mm-hmm. And what's happening psychologically, socially, historically, and what does that say about us as a society? So before we get into this, Carolyn, you wanted to say something because, again, we're re-recording this. I told Carolyn, hey, I watched this documentary. It's the Duplass brothers. The first episode, I was like, I want something light. It's called Out There, like paranormal crime or something like that. I was like, ghost doing crime. This is going to be great. But the first episode was really heavy. It was about these lizard people. And you hadn't seen it when we did the first iteration of this episode. Tell us more.
I had enough they're just people who believe in aliens or
we've done cults
50.
And
I don't know. It's just, I think we were, I feel like I was sort of more mocking it and laughing lightly at it.
Right.
When I saw it, and I actually watched the documentary.
Yeah.
And I saw this complicated framework pretty significantly that made the therapist in me and the person who's like deeply concerned about this. And I'm like, oh no, this isn't funny.
No.
Like nothing about this and what is happening is I don't think we're mocking it necessarily. I mean, that episode is very funny. It'll never see the light of day as some of ours.
No, but you know what? In that episode, they do point out that there are 12 million people roughly in the U.S. who believe that our country is being run by lizard overlords.
Yeah. Yeah.
Legitimately believe this shit.
I saw genuine paranoid ideation.
Yeah.
Fixed, unshakable beliefs that could not be penetrated by any evidence. And fantasy and reality are lovely. Like you said, Star Wars, cool.
Right. Lord of the Vampires.
Even cosplay, I'm hella into that. I think, vampires, all this shit. But this isn't that. There's no clear border between these things. And these people are obsessive. Mm-hmm. They are all consuming in this preoccupation. Yeah. It is behaviors that are causing real harm to themselves, to anyone around them.
Yeah.
And I sat with that and I thought, I don't think I can just clinically tidy this up into like, oh, it's adaptive coping or or call it a day, right? So I wanted to try and hold both things a little bit differently today. But I think this is also very research back academically. This is a more defensible to take that conspiracy belief is a largely normal cognition under stress. Pattern recognition gone into overdrive and nervous systems trying to impose order and chaos. Yeah. And that framing is really real. And the literature does support this. What they didn't do in this documentary that I would have loved, Duplass brothers, is I wish they would have told you who these people were like further down the line.
Yeah. Or prior to
my guess, right? Like my guess would be they seemed very lonely and isolated.
Yes.
I felt like the woman who's in it, I forget her name, but it seemed like there had been maybe some trauma. Like she was very lonely and just had this friend and they just hiked together and did some weird shit. Yeah. She'd hear weird shit. And
loneliness is at the root of all of this, right? And 2 episodes ago when we talked about, this loneliness that leads to radicalization and violence, like this is the same pattern.
Yes.
Because we're going to talk about how the folks that they focused on in this documentary did some incredibly violent, like reprehensible shit in the name of abolishing the lizard people. So, I think we should go back to basics, right? Yes. What is a conspiracy theory? Let's start there. I think our audience is smart enough to know, but I think it always is helpful to start with the basics.
Yeah, let's define that.
Yeah. Conspiracy theory is essentially the belief that powerful groups are secretly manipulating events behind the scenes. And importantly, it's not always irrational. Look at what's going on with the Epstein files. Real conspiracies exist. Watergate scandal, Epstein files, but the difference is evidence, right? Yeah. We have the evidence that not only was there this crazy secret pedophilia ring going on, but it was financially motivated as well. And the primary interests of all of these Epstein clients was to be able to hide their money. They were all incredibly rich and they wanted to know how to avoid taxes. This isn't a conspiracy in the sense that it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
We've got the receipt. So conspiracy theories tend to rely on like vibes, right? Psychologically, belief in conspiracies is often tied, as you said, to pattern recognition, gone into like fucking warp speed.
Yeah.
So
something's not right.
we're wired to find meaning. We're wired to find patterns for the sake of survival. But even when none exist, and then this is like, oh my God, not only does this not exist, but it's going to kill me. So I have to react. So what's going on again with this, Carolyn? Remind us.
Absolutely. So this is, like I said, dominant clinical research view. This is well supported that conspiracy belief is rooted in really ordinary cognitive tendencies. It's something called aponia, seeing patterns and randomness. Our brains are evolved to do this. They keep us alive. There's also something researchers call a need for cognitive closure. And that's a deep discomfort with uncertainty. I certainly can relate to that. And that makes a clear explanation, even a frightening one, genuinely soothing to our nervous system. We like humans, we like finished products, right? And for most people in conspiracy spaces, that's probably the whole story, right? Like I almost kind of want to call it like hobby-like. Yeah. In that sense, like it's kind of, there's a sweetness to it. It's like, oh yeah, you believe in aliens. Yeah. And then they might be like, oh man, like they're here. And you don't know. Aliens. But when you add stress and uncertainty and community, that makes them feel less alone. This narrative makes the world feel less random. And that population, the research is what the research is actually describing. I just realized the overhead light's on and I fucking hate that light. So give me 1 second. Yeah. God damn it. Off my game today. Okay. Yeah. There we go. Much better. We don't have a candle on today. We don't have a candle. I know. Oh, no, you do behind you.
Thank you. Yeah, the fake candle. Sorry. Okay. I don't think you can see yours in the shot anyway. I'm just off my game. I had that cervical epidural on Friday. I've got bulging discs and a pinched nerve. Yeah. Sweet shit. But you have to do it under something called conscious sedation. And I'm pretty sure it's fentanyl they give me. Nice. I don't particularly love being out of it. You know, I'm a control freak. But if you don't do it with this, it hurts. Would be really painful. It's like a spinal tap almost, right? Because they have to go directly into your spine with with steroids. And so it has to be done under X-ray. It's crazy. But I did it the first time. The doctor was a fucking sadist and did it with just like not topical numbing, but like a shot of just a numbing, like an anesthetic. Gosh. And I almost threw up from the pain. Like it was so fucking awful. And so anyway, I don't think I've fully recovered. Yeah. So here I am. Alcohol must be working really well with this right now. Totally complementing. This is way better. Yes, absolutely. So, okay. Anyway, so like I said, when we recorded this the first time, I had a little bit different feeling about it. But when I actually saw this documentary, there was a different end of that spectrum entirely of just like, hey, this is just kind of like a hobby like thing that you're kind of, it's a weird, a quirky little kinky interest you have. But I do think that spectrum of belief exists and beliefs truth is a really funny thing in our reality. Well, it's malleable, right? And I think that multiple truths can exist simultaneously. Right. And it's like, okay, you're like, oh, cool lizard people. But when it dominates your life, these people are not obsessive. Well. They're obsessive. They're paranoid. It almost feels like what would have been called like an axis 2 disorder, like very personality driven, almost like or axis 3, like a schizophrenicness to it. Yep. These people are dealing with some real serious mental health shit. They should be fucking medicated. You know how sometimes you talk to someone and you're like, oh, they're interesting or like that. And they say something and you're like, oh shit. You've crossed the threshold here. Yes. We are not on the same page, bro. No, and that's what's so fascinating because I'm sitting there watching. Even I crossed that threshold within the first 5 minutes of watching it. I was like, oh, good Lord. Yeah. Like, what is he talking about? And the lady's like, yeah, I thought it was weird, but we kept hiking it. And I'm like, girl, you're going to hike with this guy? Yeah. Abort. I know. I would not want to be in the middle of nowhere with this person. Meetup. Yeah. You can. I swear there are other people out there that probably love cats and trailer parks as much as you do, sweetheart. So, let's talk a little bit about these lizard people and shape-shifting elites. So lizard people, popularized by this guy David Icke, who claims that reptilian humanoids secretly control global politics, including world leaders. So these people really think like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are shape-shifting lizards. So, allegedly there are these shape-shifting like folk who control everything. What's fascinating is this isn't new. Reptilian or serpent-like beings appear in ancient mythology across cultures in the Bible. So psychologically, what's happening here? This taps into something called evolutionary threat detection, which you hit on. We're biologically wired to fear reptiles and snakes in particular. I actually love snakes. So the brain is like,
same.
What if the thing we're wired to fear is secretly running everything? Yeah, you make that really big fucking cognitive irrational leap. Oh my God, I fear snakes. They must be running the country.
Absolutely. And
like,
underneath our skin, right?
Yeah. Human beings are scary enough, y'all. We don't need to think that there's a reptile form under Jeffrey Epstein. So, it's symbolic. Reptiles equal cold-blooded, emotionless, predatory. So it maps nicely onto the way that people perceive elites. I have no love for elites, but I know that they are just really sick, twisted human beings who don't care about other humans like I do.
Which is a human trait.
Right. I don't have to think that they're, in addition to that, shape-shifting fucking lizard people.
They just are assholes. Some people are just assholes.
Yeah, some people are dicks. I told you about the friend I had who was like legitimately obsessed with this. Whoa. So I was recovering from nose job number 2, you guys. And this person came over to hang out with me while I was recovering.
The longtime friend.
Oh, yeah. Longtime friend. We went to high school together and put on this David Icke icky fucking documentary. And it turns out she genuinely believed in this lizard people shit.
Okay.
And chemtrails and all this stuff. And the documentary. Chemtrails are like, when a plane leaves like white smoke in the sky?
Exhaust?
Yeah. There are people out there who believe that those are like chemtrails that are altering our brain chemistry or something. I don't know. I'm not crazy enough to know what the fuck these people are thinking, but this friend of mine was like really into this. Okay. So all right. That's where, again, one of those situations where you're like, I'm like, I'm into the occult, I'm into the paranormal, I'm into all of that. And then she puts this on. I'm like, oh, we are not on the same
page. I feel like that can
be
explained.
What? Yeah.
Chemtrails can be explained. Like what makes the occult interesting and what makes lore interesting to me, and like even some of how these things are conspiracies, is it can't be explained.
Right. Or it can be, or at the time that it was, like vampire lore, for instance, which spans cultures.
Yes.
And that's, I think, to me, the most fascinating thing about human beings.
Yes.
Is that they're not connected in any like geographical sense or physical sense, yet they come up with a lot of the same explanations.
Yes, 100%.
And people were traveling back then via ship, of course, and they bring stories and lore with them. So that was like, the globalization of fucking yesteryear. But it speaks more to like human beings and the things we look to explain what could not be explained prior to science becoming an everyday part of most of our lives. I don't know.
Apparently not these people.
Not Maha and not these people. So, there was Pizzagate and moral panic. So this was one of the more dangerous conspiracies, Pizzagate. It was the false belief that a child trafficking ring involving political elites was operating out of a Washington, D.C. pizza shop. No, it was actually operating out of Florida, bro. Yeah. Which led to an armed man showing up to investigate. And this is where conspiracy theories, as we said, move from weird to harmful. Yeah. And psychologically, this taps into this moral panic, right? This widespread fear that society is under threat from some evil force. It really is. They're called human beings.
Yes.
They're called Republicans. Historically, we've seen this before.
Some Democrats.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And, like the Salem witch trials, for instance, same pattern of fear plus misinformation plus protect the children rhetoric. And,
always.
Once a narrative like this kind of takes root, confirmation bias kicks in, and people are going to seek out the information that supports this wonky fucking belief.
Enter the internet.
Yes. Carolyn, talk to us about how fear shuts down our ability to think critically and rationally.
Yeah. Well, the neuroscience here is absolutely clear. I think I'll say another thing too, when you go back to the lizard, like it's interesting that we call our reptilian brain.
Yeah.
Like that's like the true fight or flight. And it is, I just found that fascinating too. It's like, it's funny that we're not like, oh, they're like secret elephants.
Yeah.
There are these creatures that are like known, like you said, known to be cold. But when we perceive a threat, we say that activates a very specific region in our brain. We call the reptile brain or protective instincts.
Don't call it a reptile brain. That's forever ruined.
It confused it, right? your amygdala.
Mhm.
Amygdala fires, stress. So I always teach people the 3-part brain. So if you take your hand and you fold your thumb in, that's your
Yeah.
amygdala. Fight or flight. It only question is, am I safe?
Yeah.
Fold that over. That's your mammalian brain. Comfort. Am I loved?
Yeah.
Prefrontal cortex.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
so
remember this, it's like when trauma happens and you're having a response, we call this flipping our lid.
yes.
Yeah.
This goes offline.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Going
The
offline.
rider is off the horse, dog.
Rider's off the horse. You no longer care what can I learn from this.
Right.
Am I loved? Your only question is, am I safe?
Survival.
So, protective instincts, harm to children, amygdala fires, stress hormones flood your system. Prefrontal cortex activity drops significantly. And that prefrontal cortex is where we evaluate evidence, slow down.
Mhm.
So does this actually hold up?
Yeah.
So if someone like you and I might hear that and be like, oh, that's kind of a cool conspiracy.
Yeah.
But no.
Right.
Because we know people are just inherently, do you believe people are inherently
This
good
is
or
so
bad?
rational.
So
yeah.
fear quite literally impairs critical thinking. Now, this is what I
Mhm.
find interesting. If you are schizophrenic or you're having paranoid ideations or you're having all these like true,
Yeah.
this is where we really have to distinguish mental disorders.
Right.
And things that something is not okay in this person's brain, be it from drug induced,
Yeah.
be it from something biological or like syphilis, things
Yeah.
like that. Something that would organically change something happening in your
Right.
brain. But when someone's consistently keeping that story in line
Yeah.
and you're talking to them, you're like, oh, no, something's not right.
Right. Yeah.
That is also a human ability to go, something's wrong here.
Right.
So again, it's not a character flaw. I do believe that. I do believe these people are not okay.
Oh, they're sick.
It's
Yeah.
biology and
Yeah.
moral panic. So when Scientologists, sociologists,
Speaking of cults and like weird
Freudian
shit.
slips,
Yeah.
Stanley Cohen described a society's collective frenzy around perceived threat to moral order, deliberately exploits that response.
Yeah.
And once fear locks in, once confirmation bias is there,
Mhm.
you're done.
Yeah.
And that's when you're talking about like that cult mentality, that Maha,
Yeah.
that MAGA. Everything that confirms the threat feels true, including people telling you that's not true.
Right.
Right. Well, now you're one of
That's
them.
what they want you to believe.
That's what they
Yeah.
want you to believe.
Yeah.
So everything that contradicts it actually feels like part of that cover up.
Right.
And it feels certain to the people inside it.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going up against. And here's where it gets even more complicated. So prior to watching the documentary, that's kind of where I would have stopped.
Yeah.
But what I observed in the documentary, and you tell me if you thought this too, it wasn't just fear hijacking, critical thinking. I saw what I think most of us, again, would recognize as paranoid ideation.
Right. Absolutely.
That it is persistent, fixed belief.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be, come at me, therapist or whoever wants to. This is what's happening with MAGA.
Right.
This is what's happening with the religious right. This is
Yeah.
what's happening with Christian nationalism. It
Yeah.
is a paranoid ideation, a fixed, persistent belief that we're completely impervious to contradicting evidence.
Right.
Not because of confirmation bias, but because the belief system has become structurally airtight.
Yeah.
And you cannot, any contradiction is proof. And that's a very different clinical thing happening.
Yeah.
So when they talk about Trump derangement syndrome, when I hear that, I actually think of it the reverse way.
Yes, because we're the ones that are supposed to be deranged. It's like, really, it's deranged to be pointing out that this person is like an absolute megalomaniac psychopath. Like,
Yes.
come on.
Yeah.
We're deranged.
So that's what a
It's we're being
paranoid,
gaslit.
that's what these are any no different than narcissism or any other
Mhm.
personality disorder. Paranoid personality is an organization that can happen within your system.
Yeah.
And in more severe presentation, it's a delusional disorder.
You know what's interesting? It would be really interesting to, I mean, it's completely and totally unethical, but to medicate some of these like really serious like MAGA true believers, and then and medicate them for some of the things that you're describing, and then see if things change.
There's some flexible serotonin. Well,
Right?
I mean, but think when your system's suppressed,
Mm-hmm.
you're under stress.
Yeah.
Having that belief system and thinking, I personally believe that a lot of the people in that community,
Yeah.
MAGA specifically, are suppressing some form of their identity.
Yeah.
It's not, human beings, we do want to belong,
Mm-hmm.
but not in that way.
Yeah.
you want to be a little bit different. You want to be an individual. We should be celebrating that.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a level of stress that is happening with these people, which makes me wonder if it is trauma.
Well, also too, and we've seen this with so many of these like really backward oppressive regimes. It's that people are experiencing real challenges, like real economic challenges. And they're looking for people to blame. And depending on how you were raised, like you might cling on to an ideology that villainizes a group of people who don't deserve to be blamed for, I don't know, the high cost of gas or groceries because of the way that you were raised. You were, maybe you were raised in a, really Republican environment. And then so you're going to cling to these ideas that villainize people who have absolutely nothing to do with this and are probably struggling just as hard as you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and this is where it's I think this is part of the clinical debate is often, I said something when I was back home visiting to my sister about, if someone came to see me and they were not in the same ideology as me, I wouldn't want to work with them. And she's like, well, is that really ethical? Like, can you do that?
That's a good question.
And I was like, I mean, it depends what they were coming in with.
Right.
But if they're talking about things that, personally I find offensive, I'm not that kind of therapist. And again, therapists come at me, but I think mental health has gone this other way where we think it's not compassionate to just let people be who they are in this kind of scary way, where it's like when someone's that deep in their paranoia, we also would say if you're that fixated on a partner, that's not healthy. Or food.
Obsessive. Or anything that's obsessive is not healthy.
Yeah. And so, what point are we going to start saying, but that is a health issue?
And even if it's not obsessive necessarily, if somebody comes into your practice and they hate trans people, for instance, like
you're not going to get
you're not
going to see that big flag behind you.
Right. But you're not a computer, and you don't, I firmly believe that even as a clinician, there's nothing that says you have to tolerate that and that you have to be the therapist who treats that person. You can refer them out. If you know that you are not going to be able to give them a fair shake because their beliefs are so egregious to you.
I don't.
Like you're doing the right thing by saying, I can't work with this person.
I don't have the expertise in it. That's for sure. In the same way, I don't necessarily have expertise with borderline or bipolar.
You're also not a doctor. You don't take a Hippocratic oath that, I mean, obviously harm none is.
Sure.
I might be confusing the Hippocratic oath with the Wiccan thing. Harm.
They do no harm,
but it's the same thing.
But
it's the same thing.
Shit. No, but I do think that these are people, it's not debatable to me. These are people who need clinical support. They're not fact checking.
Yeah.
But you also, when we get to the later part of the documentary, if someone comes to you and is saying this shit, where do you go with them?
Yeah. Where do you go with it? Well, with this in particular, like if somebody comes to you with this shit and it's expressing violent ideologies, because ultimately that's what happened in this documentary, is that the primary guy that they were focused on telling his story, this motherfucker loaded an RV up with explosives. And this friend you mentioned, this woman called the authorities and they wrote her off. I don't know what the circumstances were, but they wrote her off. And she alerted them and said, this guy has an RV full of explosives and he has this ideology and he's going to hurt somebody. And he did.
I think it's because she was a woman.
Yeah.
I think when she talks, when you hear the 911 tapes, or whoever she called, she sounds really frantic.
She needs mental health help too.
Something's a little off there too.
Yeah.
But see, that's the interesting part.
Yeah.
So you're seeing these two people who are really fixated on something. She's a little bit more impressionable and like a more of a follower.
Yeah.
I don't think she would hurt anyone.
Well, she knew enough to know that what he was doing was wrong.
She knew the whole time though.
And she went and reported him. And said, I think once she saw that he had explosives, she was like, this guy intends to hurt people. This is more than just an obsession.
Yeah.
Because somebody can be obsessive and weird and you can be the nice person who's trying to like get them out of that. Like, let's go for a hike and focus on something else. And then you're like, oh shit, you got a fucking RV full of CO2, bitch. Like you mean to do harm.
Well, so do you watch The Pit?
No, I can't. I can't do medical dramas. That's too much for me.
This one would
too
be
sensitive.
But so they talk about this. A great fucking show. But they talk about this because, like I said, this is someone who's like, hey, I hear this stuff.
Yeah.
We have enough evidence now, although depending on which side of politics you are,
Yeah.
you might hear that and be like, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about
Yeah.
that. But, me as a therapist, if I had a younger client telling me that, if they're going to hurt someone else,
Yeah.
I can break confidentiality.
Right.
We have enough research where it's like, hey, this kid fits a profile, or this man fits a profile.
Yeah.
Here's what he's saying.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Well,
We don't have
exactly.
anything to do because of freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And
Except
that's
with
a
this
problem
guy,
with this.
he actually had the stuff.
But that when it was too late.
Yeah. Well, when she called, it wasn't too late. When she called and said, because they wrote her off.
Yes.
But
he was already in Nashville.
Yeah. What happens
Spoiler
with
alert.
these folks, like young folks in particular, who go and like commit mass shootings.
Mm-hmm.
And they have these writings, these like not necessarily manifestos, but these writings with the intention to do that.
Yes.
And then it's, oh shit, like we ignored that or we didn't take that seriously. It's just when to know when something is, I mean, a very unhealthy habit or obsession, but not necessarily going to lead to violence.
Yes.
And when something is ultimately going to lead to violence.
Well, and that was the whole problem, that this kid, the mother poisons herself.
Yeah.
With diarrhea medicine or something.
Jeez.
Because she finds her son has written a list of girls who he hates and wants to kill.
Oh God.
And she goes to the hospital and she's like, my son's bringing me, his dad died in 9/11.
Yeah.
Like, I see all these things. He's, wearing dark clothes and he looks all like teen angsty and stuff.
Yeah.
And that is a profile that we know. And the doctor's like, can't say anything. And the other doctor's like, I'm going to call that in.
Yeah.
I'm going to call the police. I'm going to report this. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And they're having this moral dilemma about what isn't okay.
Yeah.
And I think we don't have the legislation for this.
Right.
But we have the research enough that we know there's somewhat of a in the same way that like Ann Burgess would have been able to profile someone.
Yeah.
But
it's hard. It's hard because we live in to an extent, a free society where a lot of what we say, thankfully, is protected. But what happens when it goes beyond free speech and it starts to enter the realm of potential and like subsequent harm? And that is the gray area. Like, is this person going to do this? I think it's better to intervene, to intercede, but then that person can be like, fuck you, I'm going to sue. You're violating my First Amendment rights.
Exactly.
I just wrote about this. My intention wasn't to do anything, but I can write whatever the fuck I want. But people are also confused about what the First Amendment protects and does not protect.
Yes.
Like, there's certain things you absolutely cannot say. Like, there's clear and present danger laws. I'd have to go back to my constitutional law class, but like, it doesn't protect everything.
Yes.
So that's where things get complicated. So
in QAnon.
It's a lot. So yeah, we know. And the thing too about like this Pizzagate thing, it's like, now would we literally like have a Pizzagate-esque shit, not even conspiracy, an actual like certifiable, verifiable ring of very powerful people hurting children.
To those that believe that that's true.
Yeah, that's the thing that's really hard for me. Like, clearly you're mentally ill if you're confronted with all this evidence and you're like, it's not happening. I'm like, bro, here's an email. Like, here are countless emails.
But it doesn't help when the very systems that are supposed to be monitoring that aren't fucking doing shit.
Right. Or the opposite. They're insulating these folks and protecting them because they have money and power, and we live in a white supremacist society and they're white.
Yes.
That's where it's really problematic. So, we've talked extensively about digital radicalization. We all know about QAnon, which is this cinematic fucking crazy universe.
They did a beautiful job explaining this in the documentary.
They did. Too. That one guy whom I think is a clinician, he did a really good job.
I really liked how they explained that kind of that slippery slope.
That progression.
Yes, progression.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So QAnon began with anonymous posts on the internet forum claiming insider knowledge of a secret war between good and evil. It basically turned politics into a live action like role-playing game. I'm LARPing. But that's the key. Gamification. And we've talked about this in the incel episodes and, not so much the cult stuff, but the gamification. Whenever we focus on online shit, we focus on like games or like game like constructs being used to hook people.
Right. It's a spectrum.
Yes. And
Always.
so people, we love human beings. We're wired to solve puzzles and uncover clues. So it releases dopamine.
Yeah.
It's fun.
You play Dungeons and Dragons.
I actually don't. But
I thought you did.
No, I'm that nerdy, but not quite that nerdy. It becomes addictive.
Yes.
That is what this shit relies on, is this stuff becoming addictive. Believers feel like they're part of an enlightened group who see the truth. And again, like you said, anybody who says anything contrary, they're not true believers.
Yes.
And they're part of the problem. And everyone else is asleep or complicit, as you said. So sociologically, this is amplified by platforms like Facebook and YouTube, who just got fucking sued for this shit, where the more outrageous the claim, the more the algorithm picks up on it and the more visibility it gets. So let's zoom out, right? So why do these conspiracies thrive online? I think a lot of this is like, duh, right? There's 3 big reasons. And we've talked about this extensively because this is what we love to harp on, because we see this as one of the primary problems with our society, is that there's information overload.
Yes.
People are overwhelmed and looking for simple explanations. Our brains are not wired to take in this much information simultaneously. We can't handle it
all the time.
We break.
Fucking phone.
Yeah. And so, a distrust of institutions, a healthy distrust of institutions makes sense.
Yep.
Declining trust in government, media, science, maybe not so much science, but, the other 2, that's relevant.
Small science.
Yes,
I just
that's fake science. That's not real science. That's what we call junk science. And social isolation, which we talk about ad nauseum.
Yes.
Online communities, they have that
social behavior,
parasocial, like connecting kind of ability.
Yeah.
So conspiracy spaces become community spaces, and leaving them feels like you're losing your entire social network. You might be. It's like these folks who end up in cults. Like this becomes their family. Shit. And even when they sense danger, trouble, like, this might not be all it's cracked up to be, Jonestown, it's too late, or people think it's too late at that point. At Jonestown, it literally was too late. They would have shot you if you tried to escape.
This so many times.
I know. It plays out constantly. And but the people immersed in this don't see the patterns. And I think it's a mental illness.
Normal as well.
Yeah.
That is normal as well.
Yeah.
That we, I was just reading about this, even with couples, like you look past that because you see the fantasy.
Right.
And then what probably was there at the beginning, by the time you're 3-4 months in, it's not as off to you.
Right. It becomes your new normal.
Yeah.
Is that still recording?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I sent my husband on a marketplace recovery mission because he golfed today, so I have to punish him. He's wonderful. I was like, can you go pick this up? It was 10 minutes away, and he decided to go, which was wonderful.
He's such a sweetheart.
He is. He's the best. I just wanted to make sure that the phone that we're using, which is connected to his network, didn't get thrown off if he was like marketplace texting with the person. Anyway, apparently everything's still working fine. Great.
Yay.
Carolyn, walk us through the psychological profile of these folks and give us the full picture.
Yes. All right. So the research profile of a conspiracy believer still stands. Like you said, pattern recognition, confirmation bias, proportionality bias as well. That instinct that a huge event needs a huge explanation behind it.
Yeah.
And anxiety is always the driver, right? So again, why it comes to me as more of an OCD, more of a paranoid type thing.
Yeah.
Describes most people drawn to this kind of content. And I want to be careful not to pathologize like the normal human condition, like the 2-headed snake. Everyone, Barnum and Bailey, we've talked about this too, like that curiosity for kind of like the odd.
Yeah. The strange and the fascinating. That's
absolutely.
okay.
That's normal.
Yeah.
But, once you, like I said, then there's a spectrum that goes around. So here's what the research shows us. And this is what I saw viscerally. I was texting you like, what the fuck?
I know. It's alarming. Yeah.
So this is a subset of people in these spaces. These spaces are showing something very clinical, elevated paranoid ideation, schizotypal thinking, which is different than schizophrenic thinking, meaning that a loosened relationship with conscious reality and a tendency to see hidden meaning and connection everywhere. Schizotypal to me always felt like someone who, like, when you see someone who's schizophrenic, you don't not see that.
Right.
Schizotypal looks somewhere in between.
Yeah.
right?
They're like functioning schizophrenics.
That's how I would come.
Yeah.
You're like a high functioning
High
alcoholic.
functioning. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Like
yeah.
that guy, if you just saw him walking along the street, you would, I forget what his name is, but you would just be like, oh, that's just kind of an average dude.
It's not like the people that we see in San Francisco on the street who are in active psychosis. Yeah,
totally.
it's different.
But then you hear him talk and you're like, oh,
yeah,
there it is.
Yeah.
Something is off. And if you are typically on the more normative end of that spectrum, it should stand out to you.
Yeah.
Which also makes me wonder about those companions that were around him.
Yeah.
So if you're in a community, like you said, where they're all dealing with that, no one's going to be like, hey, Joe, going off the deep end a little bit there.
Yeah. Well, I think those people start to naturally, like there's
they ramp
attrition.
each other up.
Well, they either ramp each other up, or the ones that don't think like that are like, okay, I can't hang out with Joe anymore. Joe's fucking lost it, you know?
Great.
And it's, I don't know if that's the right approach, but also like people are busy. We got a lot going on.
You gotta go talk to Joe and invite him over for hummus.
I don't have time for that. Nor do I want him around my children.
Fair.
But you know, that's what happens. And I think that woman who was his buddy, that was kind of a last ditch. I feel like she genuinely cared about this person and knew there was something wrong, and also did not want him to hurt people. She cared.
Were they dating?
I don't. It was
Something
unclear.
was weird.
There might have been some romantic shit, but it was interesting because
I know she probably. That's so me.
Yeah.
I just fell for dudes with cancer. I wouldn't fall for a lizard person.
No.
Like, are you ill? Let me love you. You won't leave me unless you die.
I can fix you. But
horrible.
Yes, but I don't know. It's hard, but also
hard.
Too, it's like it wasn't just this guy. They showed the guy who killed his children.
Yes.
It's like, okay, there's a partner in there somewhere whom I'm sure he was sharing his fucking paranoid delusional thinking about lizard people, who let this guy take the kids, or somehow he got the kids and took them on vacation and killed them because he thought that they were lizard people. Like, where was the rest of the network? Because ordinarily there is a network around children.
Yes.
Maybe not the person who's lost significant touch with reality, but where were the people who were supposed to protect these kids?
If you're listening and your parents are talking, tell your teacher.
Right. Please tell a trusted adult.
Someone.
Because this stuff has the potential to become deadly.
Yes.
You know, and that brings us to the question of, what do we do about this, Carolyn?
Yeah. Well, I keep coming back to this in that same framework that we can hold everyone in these spaces. Some people need media literacy and critical thinking tools. I do think, I don't know how you put the genie in the bottle back. Well, actually, I do.
Medicine.
As a parent with the internet, one, your child should not have any devices in their room.
Yeah.
If they're going to do weird shit, they're less likely to do it in the living room.
Right. It's very
But I
true.
also understand as a parent, when you're very tired, if I had a kid and they were like, I'm doing homework, I'm like, cool, I'm going to bed at 8 o'clock. So I get that. But again, this is something that I think some people do need, that critical thinking tool, and some people need community and connection. This is a more systemic, more systems type problem. People need a clinician.
Yeah.
We need more infrastructure, making sure people are getting in contact with doctors and dentists, and people are saying, hey, how you doing?
Yeah. Well, that's the hard part. Well, that's the hard part too. And that, unfortunately, now I haven't gone to med school, clearly, neither of us have.
I got to Google med school.
Google med school. I'm a Google doctor. But also like physicians don't have sufficient training, I think, to be able to not only recognize this stuff, but like refer these people out and to make sure that they get the psychological support that they need. Well, it's like, I think about my poor mother-in-law whom has hoarding and cluttering disorder and OCD and just like very anxious thinking patterns. And, you know, her executive functioning was offline for so long, and it has nothing to do with the dementia era that she's starting to enter into now, unfortunately. But when I was trying to get her psychological help, and my husband was interfacing with most of the doctors, and I was just telling him what to say and talking to her then primary care physician, who's like, oh yeah, I always thought there was something wrong. Like she'd miss appointments constantly. She'd show up in the office 2-3 hours late.
That's not right.
And, I always assumed that there was something going on. It's like, you
didn't
were able to detect that there was something going on psychologically, but you didn't refer her out at any point to somebody whose specialty it was to work with people who are struggling with mental health stuff. Like, what the actual fuck? Like the system and fortunately she's very like sweet and benign, like wasn't going to do anything.
Right.
But also it's like, okay, you are a professional. You're a medical professional.
Break your HIPAA, though.
You recognize this stuff and you never even had the conversation with her and said like, hey, I noticed this. Like, is this happening for you? Like, what's the situation?
Well, and I think too, think of the disparity racially too. It
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that a lot of these people tend to be Caucasian.
Mm-hmm.
If a African-American person was walking around saying some of the shit this person was saying or doing some of this shit and someone called, probably would have been taken care of.
It's true. There's white privilege even in this.
Huge problem.
Yeah. It's true.
So I think that, we need these things and being willing as a society to look at this stuff and care about it differently.
Yeah.
Because it's impacting us.
Right.
That's just
it definitely does.
Yeah.
I mean, when a dude loads up a fucking RV with explosives,
How many
himself
people did he kill?
included, I don't know. I don't remember what the death toll was, but drove it into Nashville, downtown Nashville on Christmas morning and detonated explosives. This is a fucking issue. This is something where people are getting seriously hurt. I mean, look at this is pre-internet, but like the Oklahoma City thing.
Oh God.
And the shit that motherfucker was into, and now that stuff, these like ideologies, these radical ideologies, they're even easier to get a hold of and subscribe to because of the internet.
Yes.
So we know mocking doesn't work. Debating facts alone clearly doesn't work. What does help, I think, is building trust. And like you said, encouraging critical thinking, understanding the emotional need behind the belief. And that can be really challenging. If you're sitting down with somebody who fundamentally, not only do you disagree with, but you might fucking fear, it's hard to sit down and be like, oh, what's going on for you? It's like, oh, this person's going to fucking kill me, And so
he wouldn't have been able to afford an hourly fee.
That's the problem too, right? Is the prohibitive cost of mental health treatment.
Is Medi-Cal going to pay for this?
Yeah. Or are they going to, if you're seeing him, are they going to be like, well, he's had 5 sessions. He must be cured now, right?
Absolutely.
Because.
What CBT did you use on him? It's like, dude, he thinks people like lizards.
Yeah. He thinks people are literally shape-shifting lizards,
I would just keep making up a new diagnosis. I got you, Medi-Cal people. Don't worry.
I know how to do this.
I know how to cheat the system for you.
So, it's about identity and fear and belonging. And honestly, we all want a world that makes sense. I get that. I really do. Even if sometimes it really, really doesn't make sense. Sometimes things just don't make sense because human beings do crazy fucking shit. And sometimes it's just, that's the explanation.
I'd laugh tomorrow though if like all of Congress is like,
surprise, bitch! I am a lizard. I'd be like, oh god damn it, that guy was right.
I hate being wrong. That would make so much more sense.
I mean, look, the people who are currently in charge are dark as fuck. They don't care about the majority of us. They care about wealth. And they care about othering people for the sake of supporting and enriching this belief system that they have. It's really that simple.
Yes.
It's really that simple. And if you want an explanation.
Closure.
Yeah. Maybe study Nazi Germany.
Yes.
Maybe study all of these oppressive regimes that have come before this one to understand why people do the things that they do. Because psychologically, there's an explanation. There always is. It doesn't have to be fucking lizard people.
No, there can happen. And that's I'm remembering something I said in the last episode that reading the Nuremberg, the psychiatrist, Douglas Kelly, who wrote and his research was like totally thrown off in the 50s of like his whole thing after studying 22 people at Nuremberg was like, no, this could happen anywhere. There's nothing, there's actually nothing superior about their intelligence or different about them psychologically. Like, yeah, there's some personality shit.
Yeah.
They're just normal people who took advantageously, like went with this.
I mean, we
and
all
believed and were it could happen here. And people were like, no. Like, it had to be something genetically different. They have to be like something weird about Germans. It's like, nope.
The Stanford prison study showed us that this is what happens. Was that when Milgram, or was that
Milgram's
Milgram's the other
Stanford,
authority one?
Both based off of
who's our
Douglas
boy that
Kelly.
we love, Lou? I can't remember his name, who did the Stanford prison study, but I love that therapist. But they changed the entire way that they conducted experiments because of this, because it was so harmful, because he demonstrated that if given authority, people take it to a violent, like sometimes homicidal place. Human beings are dark, you guys.
Yeah.
We don't need lizards to explain the darkness that lives within, I think, most of us. And if the circumstances are right, we will lean into those. Most of us will lean into those dark tendencies,
especially if it's going to protect you versus someone else.
That's right. And so we don't need to look to some fantastical explanation for what human beings do in certain circumstances. So anyway,
do you want to get a snake?
I do, actually.
Do you
They're
really?
fucking dope. Shannon has a snake. My friend Shannon has a pet snake. They're awesome.
I would not come over if you had a snake.
I think snakes are dope. Anyway, I like lizards and reptiles because this is when I rip off my mask and I'm like, I'm a lizard person, bitch. I told you. So anyway, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Please watch this show. Something Out There. It's on Hulu, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, check it out. We thought it was interesting. I haven't gotten beyond the first episode yet.
I'm watching the rest. They're all similar. They're all equally disturbing.
I bet. And it makes sense.
Some good stuff in there.
I like disturbing.
Brothers want to be on our show?
Yeah, come on. Yeah.
I'm obsessed. I might have to make out with one of them, though.
I think they're both so gorgeous and so brilliant.
And so brilliant and funny.
Yeah, my favorite. The League is one of my favorite shows, and I really enjoyed Transparent. That will show you both of their work.
Yeah.
Anyway, y'all, we love you. Follow us on TwatJC on TikTok. We have quite a robust community now. Yay. We have exceeded 8,000 community members. We love you all. We're also on Instagram, which is a fucking cesspool of human vulgarity. They're very mean. They say terrible things about us.
Sometimes it hurts my feelings. I shouldn't say that because now they're going to do it more.
I know.
I don't think they're listening to this.
No, they're not. This is why on TikTok we also we shout them out. We shout out the crazy things they say to us because we have to laugh at them. Otherwise,
we're calling it our twatties of the week.
Twatties of the week. But twats are good. They're our twat army. So no, we've got to think of something worse. We can call them lizard people.
Lizards of the week. Okay, I like that.
Anyway, y'all, thanks for listening. We'll catch you soon. Bye.
Bye.